Now, we live in the freest time in human history, or at least that's what we've been told. But if you stop and look closely, you'll notice something quite strange. Freedom today often feels like a monthly subscription plan. Think about it. We were promised a world of convenience where every song, every movie, every service was just a click away. But what actually happened? Well, now one show is on Netflix, another one is only on Disney Plus, another is only on Amazon, and another on Apple TV. And if you want to try to access everything, you'll need to juggle half a dozen subscriptions, each chipping away at your wallet every month. So it's no surprise that many young people are quietly going back to piracy. Because freedom shouldn't feel like a bundle of payments, and yet that's exactly what it has become. So let's ask a bigger question. Are we truly free, or are we just consumers inside a carefully designed system? Well, if freedom doesn't come from endless subscription and possession, where does it come from? Well, at its core, true freedom comes from knowing what is enough. And for me, that number is around 4,000 euros or dollars per month. Enough to live comfortably, travel and not worry. But here's the key. I don't just want to earn it. I want it to come in whether I'm working or not. And that's where the concept of a freedom fund, true passive income comes in. So here, I'm going to break it down for you. Here's the math. If you want 4,000 a month, that's 48,000 a year. Now, using a conservative 3% rather than a 4% known withdrawal rule, you need about 1.6 million invested. But once you factor in capital gains taxes, etc., the real target is closer to 2 million invested. Now, that sounds like a lot, but it's absolutely doable with consistent investing and enough time. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need that much to start actually feeling free. You could decide you just want only 1,000 a month, which is great. And that only requires about 300 to 400K invested. That's about the value of a house that you could buy, and renting it out would bring almost the same amount of money and nearly the same peace of mind, although, with some more effort and costs than stocks. So real estate is still a pretty solid option, but it comes with its own responsibilities. So the lesson is simple here. Freedom isn't just one giant leap. It's a number. And every euro saved or invested gets you closer. And you have to try to understand what you need in order to define that number. It's really important that you do. But freedom is not only about money, though. It's about owning your own time and even your location. So I'll give you a real example here. A friend of mine used to work at a bank in London as a software engineer. Stable job, good salary, but not much freedom. On the side, he started freelancing as a software engineer. Over time, that side hustle grew until he was making more than his banking salary. So he quit. He quit the bank. And fast forward a few years, today he runs his own software agency, making around, I think it's 80,000 a month in revenue. And he has a small team. He hired a few software engineers from around the world, and he travels across Europe with his car, which is kind of funny because he is scared of taking planes. So he's kind of stuck in Europe with his car. But he works wherever and whenever he wants. He owns his calendar and his location as well. But here's the thing. This didn't happen by magic nor overnight. He is free now, but to get there, he had to grind. He went full monk mode, coding for months on end, sacrificing even evenings and weekends and even parties. And even today, he occasionally goes back into that state when the business demands it. So the point is, freedom does require responsibility first. You have to pay it upfront in time, effort, and discipline. It's tempting to dream of freedom as a life of doing nothing. Passive income rolling in, endless beaches, no worries, cocktails on the beach. But here's the reality. The people who reach that point rarely want to stop working entirely. Why? Because most of us would get bored quickly. Humans are wired to build, to create, to grow. Take my dad, for example. He retired a few years ago, and he said he thought he was actually going to enjoy his retirement time, which he kind of is. But he said at the beginning, at least, especially, he said he was kind of bored and he had to find new things to do to enjoy himself. So the truth is, anyone who dreams the build of never doing anything ever again probably won't reach full passive income freedom in the first place, because the drive it takes to get there is the opposite of that mindset. But, let's not sugarcoat it either. The grind is real. Sacrificing well-being for financial security isn't ideal. But it is often necessary, at least for a period, because nobody builds extraordinary freedom without first putting in extraordinary effort. The trick is knowing when to shift gears from grinding endlessly to actually enjoying the results. So how do you design your own path to freedom? Well, you got to start somewhere. Start small. Cancel one subscription you don't need. Put your first €100 in an ETF like the S&P 500. Build small emergency funds with it. Also, learn a high-value skill like coding or even editing, something that is helpful to someone. If you don't know how to invest, keep it simple. Don't buy single stocks. Buy broad market stocks. Buy the S&P 500. That's going to be your baseline until a better opportunity comes along, whether it's real estate, a business idea, or something else. The important part is to start, even with $10, frankly, not even 100. Now that there's plenty of apps to allow you to buy fractional shares. But remember this. You gotta kind of remember this. The best time to invest was yesterday. Even better was 10 years ago. But all we have left is today. So just start today. And also, beyond money, you gotta build your skill set. There is adaptability. You have to be adaptable so you can handle uncertainty. You got to be self-sufficient so that you don't always depend on others. And I think most importantly, you got to be a critical thinker so you don't fall into consumer traps disguised as freedom. Those people trying to sell you courses online to become rich overnight. It can be as evident as that, but it's not always like that. So freedom isn't really a destination, it's a practice. Every choice, every step either moves you closer or further away. Now, let me leave you with this thought. True freedom is not about having everything. It's not about subscriptions or status symbols or even millions in the bank. True freedom is knowing what's enough and building a life where your time, your money, and even your attention actually belong to you and your family. Because in the end, the real question isn't whether you can afford freedom, but it's, can you afford to live without it? So thank you for listening to this video, and I'll see you in the next one.